an immigrant's courage. It took courage for Ruth to leave the land of her birth. Let's learn from her story in the book of Ruth. Naomi moved to Moab with her husband and 2 sons because of famine in Israel. Their 2 sons had Canaanite names and married Moabites, who were traditionally bitter enemies of Israel. Deuteronomy 23, verse 3 says, "No Ammonite or Moabite or any of their descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, not even in the 10th generation." Subsequently, Naomi's husband and the 2 sons died. In those days, widows had difficulty surviving unless they had money or sons. Naomi had neither. When Naomi heard that there was food in Israel, she and one of her daughters-in-law, Ruth, returned to Israel. Typically, immigrants leave their place of birth hoping for a more comfortable life. But not Ruth. In Israel, Ruth had no family connections and no status. In fact, Israelites saw Moabites as horrible, wicked people. We could see this danger when Ruth picked leftover grain in an Israeli field. The owner knew she had been good to Naomi. He suggested Ruth to stay in his field and said, "I have told the men not to lay a hand on you." Ruth left Moab because she loved Naomi, and she recognized Yahweh as God, implying her belief. In Ruth 1:16 and 17, Ruth says to Naomi, "Your people will be my people, and your God my God. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me." We can only postulate that Ruth's faith came from seeing God in Naomi's life. Because of Naomi, Ruth took refuge in God. In turn, Ruth redeemed Naomi from a life of bitterness and saved the line of David through which Christ would come. Christ was also an immigrant. He gave up his life to move to earth, where he suffered terribly and died to redeem us from a life of hell. God the Father raised him from the dead, making his name above all names. Learn from Christ and Ruth. Don't focus on what the world considers as a good life. Instead, we should surrender ourselves and follow Christ. God will be with us and give us a great life. We hope you enjoyed that summary of a Tim Keller sermon. For more summaries like this, visit insightfulsermons.com.